Good morning, good morning, good morning. It is Tuesday, the 10th of June, 2025. Welcome to Morning Brew on Politics Social. I'm Graham Hughes. Today's show is brought to you by the letters I, Boo, Profen. I've just absolutely knackered me back. I had to adjust the camera. Right, it's not straight, is it? Oh, never mind. And the HDMI cable came out, so I got that behind the bloody desk to put the cable back in, and I just twisted myself, and I don't know what I could have done. It's just getting old. But I'm in a lot of pain at the moment. So, go easy on me, all right? Because I know this is a controversial topic that we're going to be covering today, which is nuclear power, which a lot of people have very strong opinions about. But let's all try to come to some sort of, I don't know, compromise at the end of it all. In the meantime, sorry, this really hurts. In the meantime, I just want to say a big hi to Scott and Elle and Diz and Chip and Veg Pie and Colin Baker and SG and Janeway and Nick and Diff and many others. If you'd like to join our beautiful friends in the beautiful chat, just hit the subscribe button. Hit the beautiful subscribe button and wait for about a minute, and then you can join in the chat. Okay, so today we are going nuclear, as Donald Trump says. So the UK government is ploughing £14.2 billion of our hard-earned money into Sizewell C, not to be confused with Hinkley Point C. That's a different sea, and not to be confused with the Mediterranean Sea, or the Dead Sea, or the Black Sea, or the Red Sea, or the Yellow Sea for that matter, or any kind of sea. It's C, letter C, like the sea, like pirates love the sea. It's a favourite letter. You might think it'd be R, but it's actually the she. So yes, this is the biggest nuclear investment in half a century. I don't really, that's what they say. Is it though? Is it? Because I've got a feeling that Hinkley Point C costs more. So, but we'll get into that. Ed Miliband, who is head of Labour's net zero plan, he's the energy czar. He's talking about a golden age of clean energy, and after years of dithering and Tory waffle, Labour is actually committing real money to something long term. This is going to be when it gets up and running in 35. It's going to run for 60 years. So the rest of my life, there'll be enough power coming out of this place to power 6% of the nation's electricity needs, which is something that's going to be really important going forward, because we're going to be using more electricity, because we're going to be using electric cars. And we're going to need charging. Sarah Davis, Graham, hope you feel better soon. So do I, Sarah. So do I. Go get yourself FFS, Graham. It's fine. I just need to get some ibuprofen. I need to dig some ibuprofen out. I just got those, those shooting pains. Yeah, so I'm okay unless I move. All right, so I'm just going to move a little bit because I'm a bit uncomfortable. Oh, God. I'm getting old. I'm like someone's nan. Next, I'll be one finger typing. What's the I pressed that and nothing happened. Sorry, back to the show. Anyway, look, opposition groups are already calling it state-sponsored ecocide and or ecocide, I guess, and anti-nuclear voices are out in force. And we're going to be asking the questions, why nuclear? Why now? Are the costs justified? Are they really better than renewables? And what does this mean for Britain's long, stupid love affair with fossil fuels, which dates back to the beginning of the Industrial Revolution? So Sizewell C is going to be 2 EPR, which stands for European Pressured Reactors, in Sizewell in Suffolk. It's going to have a 3.2 gigawatt capacity, enough for 6 million homes, which is about the equivalent of the 277 wind turbines that are currently being built in Dogger Bank off the coast of the east coast of Britain. It's about the same, but the difference is that this can be a baseload. There are days where there's no wind. I mean, it's quite rare, but it does happen. There are days where the sun doesn't shine and the wind doesn't blow. Halcyon days, they called it, from Alcyon, the Greek legend of Alcyon, she had a lover who went out to sea. She had a dream. She had a premonition that he shouldn't go back to sea, and he did, and he died in a storm. But the gods were kind and brought him back in the form of a bird. Am I just making this up? Was this a fever dream? And then she turned into a bird as well, or maybe she jumped off into the water and she turned into a bird. And then every year for a few days, there are days when the birds are looking after their brood and everything goes calm and quiet and serene. And they're called halcyon days. And that's where we get halcyon days from. Am I all right? Am I on morphine? What is even happening to my brain right now? Anyway, enough of this. Graham, make a short one if you're in agony. Thanks very much, Veg Pie, for the super chat. Appreciate that. Welcome to old age, says SG. Oh, do you know what though? It's like one of those things where you're ready for the show and you sit down. It's 9 o'clock. You're about to press go, and then the cable came out, and then it's like. It's not just the fact that it kind of like hurts. It's just like, it's so annoying. It's like, oh, for fuck's sake. Why now? Why at this exact moment, just before I'm going to go live? Why not do this after the show? Why not do it a couple of hours ago? Anyway, Ori, £5 super chat. Bring on Sizewell C. It's about time. Finally showing signs of getting underway where I live. So we got a fan. We got a fan of Sizewell. We'll get into that as well. So, back away from Alcyon and her lover, back to Hinkley Point C. So Sizewell, this new one, is going to be a replica of Hinkley Point C. And in the same way that it was a lot quicker to build the second Death Star, because they already had the plans for the first Death Star, it has already been designed by Galen Erso. So it didn't take so long to build the second one. That's why did it take 20 years to build the first Death Star, but the second one they knocked it together in a few weeks. Not quite a few weeks, but this is why, because they used the blueprint from the original. Although they did make it a lot bigger, the second Death Star. It's got and like I say, it should be a 60-year lifespan. It's going to sit next to the decommissioned Sizewell A and Sizewell B, which is still operating. It's located in a sensitive natural area on the Suffolk coast, and it's near RSPB Minsmere, a place called Minsmere. And the French energy giant EDF are building it, which is not ideal. Not ideal. We could do a British company building it. I hate to come over all nationalistic, but it's fine. But the UK government is going to be the majority funder at the moment. So they're promising 14 billion towards this. The final cost, they reckon, is going to come in about 20 billion, but it's going to be more than that. It always is. It's going to be built at the China's what's it called? The General Nuclear, I think it's China General Nuclear, I think the name of the company is. It's been boosted out of the deal, and Miliband confirmed that today. So the cost is probably going to be higher than 20 billion. It's going to be built using what they call a regulated asset-based model. And what this is, it's like a mortgage with public co-signers. It lets private investors start earning returns during construction. It puts a small levy on energy bills, which we could probably do without, but we were talking a few pounds a month, they reckon. But the governments reckon this is going to save them £30 billion over a 60-year lifespan. Do you know what else would have saved £30 billion, or maybe actually £40 billion from the taxpayer in this country not leaving the EU? Just saying. Majority public investment has been confirmed by Miliband, and private bidders will face national security checks, which is something I don't think the Tories did very much on anything, really. So, let's go with Ori. Let's go with Ori. Thank you very much for the super chat, Ori. Let's make the case for nuclear, okay? Grid stability. Baseload power. Renewables are intermittent. Solar and wind are intermittent. Nuclear provides a constant, reliable baseload, and energy demand is expected to double by 2050. Even though the population is probably going to plateau, we're going to see energy demand double. 70% of current nuclear fleet is going to retire soon. The current the government cannot hit their net zero targets without replacing that baseload. Fossil fuels are, as we know, a planetary death sentence. And the delay in this getting this stuff is literally costing lives. So then we've got the jobs that will be created, 10,000 jobs, they reckon, at peak construction. And there's going to be a 2,400 bed worker campus. There's going to be skills training, STEM pipeline, regional economic benefits. Also, and this is where I come in, this is my thing that I want. I want energy independence. I want to reduce our reliance on gas and oil, not just because they're filthy, disgusting fuels that are destroying the planet, but also I hate that my country is in hock to authoritarian regimes all over the world that we have to bow down and kiss the arse of in order to get the fossil fuels that we need, in order to just do our everyday life. And, this cuts the geopolitical risk of relying on a particular country for our fossil fuels. As Germany found out, it's not a good idea to get over 50% of your natural gas from fucking Russia. Because then if Russia goes and invades Ukraine and you have to go, I'm going to have to stop buying gas off these clowns now, it can take a long time to rebuild that supply chain. Paula Thomas, thank you very much for the £5 super chat. Problem is, thanks to Maggie Thatcher, there are no British companies capable of building nuclear reactors. Yeah. Paula, thank you very much for the super chat. Listen, you're absolutely right, and it is. All this is down to Maggie Thatcher. Everything that is going wrong in the world right now is down to two people, Maggie Thatcher and Ronald Reagan. They sowed the seeds for the 14 years of Tory chaos that we just witnessed, and they sowed the seeds for Trump taking over and the Heritage Foundation and what's that other thing called? The Federalist Society. Gallifrey and Wren, I used to be against nuclear, but I came across a nuclear advocacy chap on YouTube. His name I forget, but I ended up educating myself. It's not nearly as dangerous or messy as I thought. It's not, but it doesn't come with any risk whatsoever, and there was always going to be the problem of what you do with the fuel afterwards. But obviously you can recycle the fuel to a certain degree, and the amount of nuclear waste produced by these modern nuclear sites is absolutely tiny in comparison with the amount of waste, shit, spillage, carnage, toxic fumes that come from drilling for oil or mining for coal or drilling for gas or whatever. Maggie's chickens coming home to roost. Yeah, exactly. Sizewell C was first proposed in the mid-2000s. It could have been built by now. It could have been built 10 years ago. But Hinkley C delays and cost overruns kind of poisoned the well on this. And the coalition government under Cameron and that clown from the Lib Dems, what's his name? He went off to work for Nick Clegg. He went off to work for Facebook, didn't he? The coalition government slashed green investment. Tory inaction, Boris Johnson promised it. He promised it a lot of things, but he didn't actually fucking do it. Truss forgot about it, but then she was only in power for 44 embarrassing days. And Sunak stalled it, which he stalled quite a few things. Sunak was going to dial back on that rule about not being able to build wind turbines on the land, and then he changed his mind on that, and then he changed his mind again. There was nothing straight with them. And also, the Tories in the last couple of years of office, they weren't putting anything through Parliament. They had no ideas. They had no agenda. All they had was like, Brexit, get Brexit done. Okay, Brexit's done. What now? Don't know. They had no plan for the future except to feather their own nest, because that's what Tories do. And the difference with, Grant Shapps, like, cut the ribbon, but the Tories never followed through with the cash, never said how anyone was going to pay for it. It was just, yes, we'd like this thing to happen. It's like, I'd like a Ferrari. Have I got a Ferrari? Fuck no. but I'd like one. So, halfway there, right? No, unless there's money for it, then it's absolute nonsense. So Labour's putting up the money and are actually funding it. So let's talk about the objections to nuclear power. Obviously, you've got campaigners saying this is ecocide. There's a group called Together Against Sizewell C. It's taken the government to court, accusing it of reckless environmental harm. Thousands of trees and miles of hedging will be lost, hundreds of acres concreted, fish annihilated annually by the cooling systems, which use a lot of water. And the site is next to the Suffolk coast and the Heaths AO, area of outstanding natural beauty. And that includes sites of special scientific interest and special protection areas. It will also affect, as I mentioned before, RSPB Minsmere, which has delicate reed beds and habitats. And there's concerns over marsh harriers, water voles, otters, and bearded tits. Sorry, I'm such a child. And EDF promises to restore the land post-construction, but campaigners don't buy it because we've heard that before, haven't we? Now, Sizewell, like when I say it needs a lot of water, we're talking about 2 million litres of water a day. And the lack of a permanent water source is seen as a gaping logistical flaw. And the Court of Appeal allowed a challenge over the government's failure to assess this water use properly. And also there's sort of imperative reasons which override public interest. The legal mechanism to override environmental protection in favour of energy infrastructure. Critics say this sets a dangerous precedent and essentially bulldozers protected land for industrial use. These are valid arguments. And I don't really have a solid rebuttal, except what else can we do at this point? What else can we do? If you've got some suggestions, let me know in the chat. SG, £5 super chat. I have an idea for the waste. I bet it gives you a lovely orange glow when you apply it to your face. And who do we know who loves to be orange? Oh, that's true. Yeah. Get yourself a little bit of radiation. A little bit of a radioactive hug for your face. So also there's other arguments. Right, it's too expensive. It may cost over 20 billion. I mean, the estimates range from 26 billion to 42 billion with overruns. But so do fossil fuels. And for decades, the UK taxpayer has been propping up, subsidising the filthy fossil fuel companies. And nuclear's long life, 60 years, will spread out that cost. Once you build it, the actual nuclear fuel that you need to make it work is buttons, really. It's not as expensive as you might think. We use a lot of nuclear fuel, nuclear materials in the NHS all the time. It's also there's the argument that it's too slow because it won't come online until the mid 2030s, but that's still faster than waiting for nuclear fusion to exist at scale, fairy dust, hydrogen. Come on to that in a minute. And unlike gas plants, it won't be cooking the planet every second it operates. And it's not renewable. It's not strictly renewable, but it is low carbon. So the enemy is not emission. The enemy is emissions, isn't it? That's what we need to get down. And this is a low carbon way of getting it down. And when you think about, let's think about the process here. Digging uranium out the ground, even if it's thousands of miles away somewhere, to get it to the UK, that process is not as intensive as coal mining, for instance. It's not as prone to natural disasters or unnatural disasters, I should say, as, I don't know, the bloody oil rigs that blow up from time to time and go on fire, or the oil transporter ships that go on fire or crash or leak and kill hundreds of thousands, millions of seabirds and marine life extinguished by these filthy ways of getting things around. You could probably get all of the uranium that you need to operate the plants for a good long time. We're talking years onto a plane. Onto a plane. You don't need a massive cargo ship necessarily. So the solution. I know it wouldn't be a good idea to put them on the plane before you say. So yeah, the solution helps us hit net zero. It deserves a seat on the table at the moment. And I'd love there to be an alternative. I'd love there to be tidal power that actually works and is efficient. And we've sorted it all out. But unfortunately, there hasn't been enough R&D put into tidal power, and we're not quite there yet. Because we've been putting in loads of R&D into shite like carbon capture and fucking hydrogen. Which I'll come to. So yeah, EDF, the EPR, the European Pressure Reactor, is the design is French, and yes, that's a little bit uncomfortable, but solar panels are from China. Oil is from Saudi Arabia and Libya and Angola, and and the government is now the majority funder after China has been kicked out. So I'm a little less worried about the foreign technology because the French are our friends, they're our allies, they're our partners in 2 world wars, and they're a member of NATO, and they've been there for us in the past, and there's no reason why we shouldn't be there for them in the future, etc. Or they shouldn't be there for us, I guess, in the future. And, Hinkley Point C, which is the one that's getting built at the moment. This is Sizewell C we're talking about today. That cost overruns, big problems there, but because they're using that as a blueprint, hopefully with Sizewell C being a clone project, it doesn't need bespoke parts and things like that. And it's the IKEA, the IKEA design mentality. But yes, we need to also mention reactor failures, Chernobyl, China, Fukushima. And look, isolated incidents do not make nuclear unsafe by default. Civil nuclear power in the UK has operated for decades, since the 1950s, with no catastrophic incidents. I know there was a fire, a wind scale. We've had a few problems in Sellafield in the past, but nothing that's led to actual, death and destruction, not on the scale that we saw in Chernobyl, which was the worst of all possible circumstances. It was a shit design for a nuclear reactor. It wasn't given the right maintenance. It wasn't run by the people who were competent. It was cost cutting, and everyone was just lying to each other all the time about what was happening. Yeah. I the safety side of things is worrying. I'm not gonna lie. It is. It's concerning, but on the balance of things, it's probably more dangerous to fly in a fucking plane, Alan Jackson, thank you very much. Donation for the bearded presenter. Oh, thank you very much, Alan. That's very kind of you. And Paula, who's straight into number 1. You get a crown. You are now the queen of this channel. This is where I blame Margaret Thatcher again. She abandoned the fast breeder program that would have made new nuclear fuel while generating electricity. Yeah. Thatcher wrecked so many things. She wrecked the unions. She privatized loads of stuff that should never have been privatized. She led us down that route. Water got privatized. But the trains eventually got privatized under Major, but they got privatized. Like, who does that? And a lot of the problems that we face today with the trains not being on time and our water being full of shit, it's because of Thatcher. Jovian, thank you very much for the £10 super chat. The fuel will come from the UK's existing stockpile of uranium, plus that coming from a facility built to make more fuel-grade uranium. Oh, well, that's cool. That's cool. So we've got an existing stockpile. Even better. Thanks for the info, Jovian. So yeah, if you contrast nuclear with gas leaks, oil spills, coal deaths, people who die in coal mines, they happen daily, and over the course of humanity's time on this planet, they have killed millions upon millions upon millions of people. And yeah, you could argue there are alternatives, but what alternatives are there? Because I can make a pretty spirited argument against any alternatives that you might have. Obviously, solar and wind. It'd be great if it could be 100% solar and wind. However, you can't always guarantee that the sun's going to shine and the wind's going to blow. So, tidal. Tidal is the one that always sticks with me because I come from Liverpool and it's got a huge tidal range, 10 meters nearly. 10 meter tidal range every day. We have a full tide and a half tide every fucking day. And the range is insane. That amount of water coming in and out of the Mersey estuary is just mind-blowing. And if we can harness the power, that will power Liverpool and probably half of Manchester. But it's not quite there yet. Okay, so what else have we got? I don't want to even consider going down the route of clean. You know, they call that clean coal and clean gas or something. What do they call it? Natural gas or something? Green gas. It's bullshit, right? Any kind of thing, anything that touches fossil fuels is tainted as far as I'm concerned. So what else have we got? Hydrogen. Fuck me. Hydrogen. Can we just go through some of the things, just off the top of my head, why hydrogen is bullshit, right? First of all, most hydrogen is created using fossil fuels. That's why the fossil fuel industry spends so much money going to these party conferences and trade fairs and bullshit like this with their hydrogen fucking bus, right? Some things you need to know about hydrogen. The hydrogen freezes. Oh, sorry, it turns into liquid. Hydrogen turns into liquid at minus 250 degrees C. It's about 20 degrees Kelvin. Okay, about 20 degrees freaking Kelvin. That's when you can get it into a liquid state, which makes it easier to transport. Now, the thickness of whatever the container to contain this stuff, the energy required to get it down to that temperature, it's like the energy required for the Large Hadron Collider, and then you've got to have pretty fucking thick walls to your container to ship this stuff about. And the amount that you can fit in to a standard 40-foot lorry, carrying this thing, a 40-foot trailer on a lorry, it would power about 3 cars. And the thing is about hydrogen, when it's the lightest gas. So on the periodic table, it's number 1, right? Helium's number 2, lithium's number 3, right? And what's the next one? Beryllium, boron, carbon, oxygen. I can't remember. Anyway, it's atoms are very, very small. And not only do they love to bond with anything, they're like, please join me somewhere, please join me. And create new molecules. And so they'll eat any metal they touch. They'll eat through the metal. And also, they'll just pass through the metal. You try and imagine like a gas pipe, okay? Imagine a gas pipe going into your house. If it had hydrogen going through it, first of all, hydrogen takes up a lot of space. It takes up loads of space. But secondly, like, even if you did manage to put it down a pipe, then the amount of hydrogen that you'll get through the pipe would be absolutely minimal because it takes up so much space. And some of those hydrogen atoms would escape through the freaking pipe because the atoms are so small. Like, it'll never work for everyday applications. It'll never, ever, ever work. Even if the bullshit about, we'll have a wind farm and we'll make green hydrogen from this wind farm. You could just take the energy that the fucking wind farm makes, right? And then just send that off to wherever you want. You're get 90% of your freaking energy to wherever you need it to go. Whereas if you turn it into hydrogen and then you transport it somehow and then you put it in a vehicle and then you burn it or whatever you do with it, then put it in your hydrogen fuel cell. It's about 30%. It's about 30% of the energy you put in, you actually get out. It's just like, it breaks the laws of thermodynamics for it to be efficient enough to use as an everyday fuel. And I am sick and tired of seeing on Facebook almost every day some utter bullshit about, what is it, like, Germany. Germany has hydrogen train. No, they fucking don't. No, they don't. They have one experimental one and it doesn't fucking work. You know what it reminds me of? The hydrogen shit. The fucking monorail episode of The Simpsons. Someone comes in all glitzy and sing the fucking song. Monorail, monorail, monorail. North Haverbrook. I mean, no. It just doesn't work. Shut up. Stop going on about it. It just annoys me. Jovian are £10. The sun does not shine at night. Fascinating hypothesis, my friend. I'm going to give you that. Do you know what? I'm usually quite argumentative. I'm usually a little bit contrarian, but I'm not going to argue with that. I think you've hit the nail on the head. The sun does not shine at night. So if you have a night and there's no wind, you have a halcyon day in the night. One fine day in the middle of the night. One fine halcyon day in the middle of the night. There's no wind because the birds are looking after their brood. Right. £10 super chat from Alistair. 2 years ago, a Scottish reactor was restarted to power some England. It was shut down for having too many cracks in fuel rod cavities. The UK nuclear department changed how many they could, 200 max, 350. All right. Well, that's a bit shit, isn't it? Too many cracks in the fuel rods cavities. I guess that's because it was restarted, you say. So it was an old one that was sort of mothballed, and then they tried to put it back online. And it failed miserably. Look, hydrogen leaks easily and brittles metal. It's explosive. It'll go down like your lead balloon or like your hydrogen balloon, like the Hindenburg. That was hydrogen. Boom. And, storage, transport, infrastructure for hydrogen is absurdly expensive. It's suitable for some industrial use. Yes, I'll give it that. But not the equivalent of a fucking petrol-powered car. It just can't happen. The logistics are just bonkers. If you look into it, there is literally no way. I hope I can convince you of this, because if nothing else, I don't know if I'll convince you that this Sizewell C is a good idea. I don't know if I'm going to convince you of much things in life, but can I please just impress on you that whenever you hear some slick bastard in a shiny suit going on about fucking hydrogen and about how it's going to save the fucking world, I guarantee that motherfucker is in the payroll of the dirty fossil fuel giants, the oil oligarchs, the petrostates that are destroying this planet. They are definitely on the payroll of those companies, because the only effective way of making hydrogen at the moment is by burning a fuckload of fossil fuels. And don't forget, energy cannot be created or destroyed. Right? But when you create hydrogen from fossil fuels or even from wind turbines, right, you're going to have some loss of energy in that transfer. Some of that energy is going to be lost in heat, in light, in other ways, right? And so all you're doing is each step of the way to getting your hydrogen for your hydrogen fucking bus, your bullshit bus. You're losing energy. And at the end of the day, you can just charge it from a fucking wind turbine. It's a way, way, way more efficient to do it that way. Paula says, the basic problem of hydrogen is the size of the atom. It's small even by atomic standards and will travel through most materials without disturbing them at all. Yeah. Leakage, my friends. The same problem that Elon Musk and Donald Trump both have. Leakage. So yeah, it's you're never going to power your toaster through hydrogen. So Miliband, he is obviously he's put himself forward as sort of the climate guy of Labour. Quite rightly, it's good that he's done this. But he also says he's a nuclear pragmatist, and I've got to say, so am I. I see it as, unfortunately, the least bad of a load of bad fucking options right now. At least until tidal power, we got enough R&D to make that actually fucking work. But, this is, this is where me and a lot of people in the green movement sort of diverge, because they're not all of them, but some of them are very against nuclear power. I'm really not. It's the same way that people in the green movement were against HS2. I wasn't. I mean, I didn't like the fact that it was being run by the Tories and they don't know what they're fucking doing, and they just use it as an excuse to feather their own nest. And they said, oh, we can't put it through any Tory shires. We've got to spend billions putting it in fucking tunnels so that the local fucking Nimbies don't have to see a train going past 5 fucking miles away from their home. And yes, I do believe the money could have been spent better elsewhere, and I wouldn't have made HS2 myself. I've discussed this before. I would have brought the central mainline back on track, and I know that would mean essentially re-drilling the Woodhead tunnels, which have got a lot of toxic shit in them because they've been used for electricity cables for many years. It would mean bulldozing some fucking houses and some fucking supermarkets. I'm very sorry about that, but HS2 caused that as well. But the thing is that my central main line wouldn't be high speed. It would just be a normal train line that you can go at 120 miles an hour along, because then it'll take 2 hours to get from Manchester through Sheffield down to London, and that's fast enough. Thank you very much. It's fine. I know it'd be great if we could do it in an hour and a half, but realistically, for the amount of added bullshit that we have to put up with in order to build a high-speed line, it's just not worth it. Not in a country that is as densely populated and densely built up as the United Kingdom. Just trying to make that line work from London to Birmingham and then up to the north, it was a logistical nightmare from the very start. But I also appreciate the fact that the government at least were trying to bring in some alternative ways of transporting people around the country, because the East Coast Main Line and the West Coast Main Line are at capacity. I was in Newcastle on Saturday, and I sat there, watched a goods train trundle through the station. It was 40 carts long. 40 carts long. It was just like... it took a long time to get it out the station. And while it's getting out the station, none of the passenger stuff can leave. Why are we using the same train lines for regional use, intercity use, and cargo use? I saw HS2 as a way of getting more capacity on the train lines, where you could have trains that were all the same make, all the same model, all the same, travelling at the same speed, and then you could have one going every 3 minutes, just like you have in London. On the underground, what a load of capacity! Well, that's amazing. Let's do that. Let's get rid of the regional trains. Let's have just a dedicated line. And that's the annoying thing about the Woodhead tunnels, about bringing back the Great Central Main Line. I think it was great. It was a Central Main Line, but the Central Main Line, they're talking now about building a new rail link between Manchester and Liverpool, or Liverpool and Manchester. So think about it. If that was connected in with the revived Central Main Line from Manchester down to London via Sheffield, great. There's an alternative route down to London. Don't necessarily have to take the West Coast Main Line. Yeah, and then here in Durham, like, we are absolutely beholden to what's happening on the West Coast Main Line. The West Coast Main Line goes through Durham, and it's one line up and one line down for most of the way. If a train breaks down or a tree falls on the track, we're fucked. There's no alternative. There used to be, before the Tories in the 1960s took all our train lines away, like the bastards that they are. Ori, thank you very much for the £10 super chat. The way I see it, nuclear is the way I see nuclear is that we need it as a stopgap while renewables improve. Otherwise, we're just making it needlessly hard to transition away from fossil fuels. I agree. I absolutely agree. Great comment. Yeah. It's letting the perfect be the enemy of the good. And this is where I go my separate way from a lot of environmentalists who will say, no, we don't want nuclear power and we don't want HS2. And now the Green Party are complaining. They're complaining about pylons, electricity pylons, obviously with the way that energy is going to be redistributed around the country. So look, we need X amount of energy, right? Half of that energy is in fossil fuels at the moment. It's petrol in your car or diesel in your engine, in your van. That's half the energy. So we take those fossil fuels away, we still need that energy. We still need that energy to move our cars and vehicles around and trains. So we transition away, we need more electricity. So if we needed, say 50% of, 50% was provided by electricity of our energy needs, and 50% was provided by fossil fuels that we burnt in internal combustion engines, etc. So you take away that 50% of energy that we need from fossil fuels, you've got to replace it with something. Plus, the amount of energy that we're going to be using electricity we use is going to go up, and that's why. Because I don't think it's 50-50. I mean, someone probably knows the actual stats on this, but just imagine 50% of our energy mix is going to be taken away in the next few years because we're driving toward net zero. We don't want to be using dirty fossil fuels for these disgusting, oily, greasy, oligarch gobshites who run the world at the moment. We don't want to be giving them money. Which I can only agree with. The green groups feel like betrayed by Miliband, which is, Miliband used to be, they saw Miliband as one of theirs. And there's accusations of greenwashing and cozying up to corporates, saying it's the wrong place, the wrong project, wrong time, etc. But there's no right time for this shit, right? And I have a lot less of a problem with this than I do with Labour's announcement last year that they were going to be investing in R&D in not tidal power, sorry. I wouldn't have a problem with that. No, hydrogen and that other fucking bollocks bit of greenwashing, carbon capture. Bullshit 101. When someone says carbon capture to you, just think snake oil. Oh, you're in the industry of snake oil, are you? Carbon capture. Do you know how to capture the carbon? Right, it's already been captured. It was captured millions of years ago in the ground. During the Carboniferous. Tell you what, just leave it in the fucking ground. It's a great way of fucking, capturing that carbon. Keep capturing it. Anyway, look, Labour are finally doing something serious about this. It's this could change things. This could change things. Going forward for our drive towards net zero, which is under assault at the moment from the Tories. It's also under assault from the refuckers because they're all paid by the oil companies because they just want to keep the status quo. Don't forget, Nigel Farage objected to the bringing in a banning of smoking in pubs because he thought that the people who worked in pubs, like I worked in pubs back in the day, I worked in 4 different bars over 4 years, and I basically had to breathe in other people's toxic, radioactive smoke every night, every fucking night that I worked. So yeah, that was nice. And if I went out anywhere, you sat upstairs on the bus, you walked past a company or business or went in anywhere, people smoking. People just smoked. Oh my God. When I was a little kid, 50% of the stuff that I breathed in was either toxic smoke from cigarettes or toxic smoke from cars because there was so much fucking lead in the petrol. I've probably got a lot of lead in my brain, like now, even to this day, because when in my formative years, it was just fucking put lead in petrol. People complained about unleaded petrol. When that happened in the 90s, people complained about it. I heard them. I remember. I was only a kid, but I don't fucking remember it. People going, take the lead out of the petrol. Oh, well, it won't run as well, will it? I want leaded. I want the option. It's not taking the option away. Same people complained about them bringing in compulsory safety belts or crash helmets for motorbikes. Anne says, when I was young, I remember taking my jersey off very carefully at night because otherwise I get electric shock from it. Thank goodness for polyester. No, I wouldn't eat it, but I would ask, what's the difference between human muscle and a cow muscle? Fat distribution, chemical composition, fiber structures. I don't know. I think a human would taste better. Also, I've been told by my friends in Polynesia. Memories of family parties where I'd end up with my eyes streaming and my clothes stinking. Yeah, Colin. Great days, eh? Great days. Cigarette smoke everywhere. Leaded fuel. Lead in everything. Lead in the paint. Don't lick the paint. Don't chew the fucking paint on your bloody crib. You get lead poisoning. Lead in the makeup. They used to put lead in makeup. They used to everything was fucking, the radioactive. They used to have like radioactive paint, glow in the dark paint. It used to be proper fucking radioactive. Like asbestos in everything. Asbestos in Artex. Downstairs in our basement here, we got Artex on the fucking ceiling. We can't get rid of it. It's disgusting. It looks horrible. And it's got probably asbestos in. We don't know. It just proper winds me up. Let's make buildings out of fucking poison. Let's make living spaces out of stuff that literally fucking kills you. Fuck the 20th century, man. So glad to be out of that thing. Let's be blunt, right? Fossil fuels are killing us. Every delay to renewables or nuclear gives oil and gas companies another year of obscene profits and subsidies from our government and other governments around the world. These aren't just energy sources. They're political weapons in the hands of oligarchs and cartels, gangsters, despots. The Britain still imports gas from Qatar, from the US, under Trump, all tied to systems that prop up inequality, war, environmental devastation. We're not just talking about an area of wetland in the UK. We're talking about the entire fucking planet. And this, the cheap fossil fuel myth, that, the short-term cost savings, it's just a lie. Fossil fuel prices are volatile. The reason why we're paying so much for our energy right now is because of this absolute fucking madness. That is the way that we work out how much to pay for our wholesale energy is based on the most expensive product, and the most expensive product in our mix at the moment is fucking gas because of Putin's invasion of fucking Ukraine. It'll be cheaper to take out Putin. It'll be cheaper to invite him to a summit and just say, here, drink this BA, and he drinks it and he falls asleep and that's it, doesn't wake up. That would be a much cheaper way of dealing with what we're dealing with Russia at the moment. Instead, we're having to fucking plow loads of money into new submarines, into nuclear defense, into armament, weapons to Ukraine. We're having to spend money on alternative fuel sources. I mean, just why are we giving these people so much power? Like Putin? Why are we giving him? Alistair, thank you very much for the £2 super chat, my friend. Asbestos in car lorry breaks too. Right, yeah. Didn't Steve McQueen, the actor, not the director, didn't Steve McQueen die of asbestosis? Because he used to be a racer and his overalls had asbestos in case his car went on fire. He would have been a great fucking elder fucking actor. You think of the awesome shit that like Robert Redford or what's his name, Paul Newman, did in later years, like really, really good fucking parts, juicy fucking parts. And Steve McQueen, I mean, he was fucking cool. He was just effortlessly cool. Everyone thinks of him, I suppose, in The Great Escape, but Papillon, it's just such a fucking fantastic performance in Papillon. He's always trying to escape jail, that guy. Anyway, moving on. Anne says, that's inconvenience, having to earth your dad before you dare give him a hug. Electric shocks. Static shocks from... This is one of the mad things about, like, When mobile phones first came out and you weren't allowed to use mobile phones in petrol stations. I think in some petrol stations you still can't. There's a sign up saying don't use mobile phones, and it's just fucking madness. When do you ever get a spark from your mobile phone? But if you're wearing polyester, that can cause a spark, and that spark can ignite the petrol. Robert Redford saved American cinema. Yeah. Papillon. I'm glad Chip likes Papillon as well. Great film with him and Dustin Hoffman. Dustin Hoffman, who famously had a tooth extracted without any pain relief when he was filming Marathon Man because he wanted to give a realistic performance. To which his co-star Laurence Olivier is rumoured to have said to him, "Have you thought about just acting, dear boy? Why don't you just pretend?" And because he was from the Stanislaus method acting school. Stanislaus, is that the name? Is that the name of the guy? It's like a Polish guy who came over and said, "You got to live the experience to know what it's like to be that character." I tell you what, if you had more working class actors in Hollywood and in the UK in general, I mean, they wouldn't have to pretend so much. They could live. They could act like that they knew what it was like to be in that person's situation, because they would. They're playing a working class character. David said there are new things that, given time, will be discovered to be harmful. One obvious source is vapes, and another is EV batteries being involved in accidents. Putting out a battery fire isn't easy. Yeah, I mean, vapes, I think everyone knows are wrong now. I mean, look, people knew that smoking was bad for you way before the 50s. There's a Sherlock Holmes short story in which Dr. Watson's having a go at Sherlock for being a junkie, which he is. And he says, you got to stop smoking. It's bad for you. It's bad. This is written in the 1890s. Like, you don't smoke. It's bad for you. I mean, people have worked it out by then, but they had no scientific proof. And obviously the tobacco companies, the tobacco barons, have a lot of power. And so they can manipulate what's said and how people feel about cigarettes. And what happens with cigarettes is I think more people started smoking after the health warnings came out because people are stubborn and stupid, and they're like, "Oh, fuck you, we'll do what you tell me." You tell me this is dangerous. Well, live fast and die young. And this is one of the reasons why, although I can be a little bit, I don't know, flamboyant, shall we say, about the shit that's going on right now on planet Earth, I don't ever say there's no hope for the future, because there always is. There's always some ways of muddling through. I don't think this is the end times that we're living in. I don't think it ever will be. But I think that because of the nuclear threat in the 1950s and 60s, they thought they were living in the end time. So what was the point of building anything beautiful? What was the point of making anything nice? What was the point of developing stuff for the future of humanity? I mean, they developed stuff for the future of warfare, which explains a lot of the space race, to be honest with you. There's no coincidence that the scientific endeavor that went into building nuclear bombs was also the same scientific endeavor that went into man on the moon. And it was the same group of people. It was the same group of people. And don't forget, a lot of people who put the bloody man on the moon were fucking Nazis. And the guy, what was his name? Werner Braun, was it? What's his name? Am I just making that up? Am I getting Eva Braun mixed up? Some Nazis. All Nazis look the same to me. But he was the guy in charge of the Saturn V. He was the designer of the Saturn V. He also designed the fucking V2 rockets that used to be shot at fucking London as well. Gobshite. But he was given a golden handshake, wasn't he? So yeah, fossil fuels, they fund these think tanks in 55 Tufton Street. They fund media outlets like GB News. They fund MPs to delay climate action. Now they're saying, climate change, net zero is going to be a bane to all of us. It's going to cost loads of money. No, it's not. No, it's not. Net zero is going to cost, it's going to save us money because we'll have energy self-sufficiency. If we can make all our own energy, we will save trillions, with a T, trillions, by the end of the century. Trillions. Werner von Braun, thank you very much. Futum Stuck. I was almost there. I just missed the von out the middle. So yeah, hydrogen, bullshit. I don't see any other way, to be honest with you. And I don't know if anyone said in the chat what it is, what a good reason for not doing this is, but I would like to see it, because I'm interested in having this debate. So so what happens next? This funding coming through means proprietary work can ramp up, and the Court of Appeal case against this, the ecological impact and water safety, water supply, that's still going through the Court of Appeal, and campaigners are saying that this is going to have an impact on aquatic life, although and marsh life, but also Miliband he reckons that they're actually going to be adding to biodiversity and numbers in the area. I mean, I hope it's taken into consideration, but I think that we have gone too far the wrong way, in the wrong direction when it comes to building stuff in this country, because we're scared, we're terrified of building anything. We have a nation of NIMBYs, but also those NIMBYs have been empowered and facilitated by the left, by asking everyone if they're cool with this thing being built. And unless everyone's cool with it, it doesn't get built. And quelle surprise, someone always has a problem with something. But we still need schools. We still need prisons. We still need halfway houses. We still need places for people to go who need help. We still need hospitals. We still need roads. We still need railways. We need this stuff. We need thousands of, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of homes to be built. And also, we need to put in incentives to get the fucking boomers, not all boomers, but we need to encourage boomers to downsize. Their kids have left, and they might come and stay once in a while, but most of the housing stock is now owned by boomers who are living in houses that are too big for them. And do we try and discourage this in any way? No. We give them a discount on their council tax. So they're living in a big fuck-off family home when there's only two of them, and they're paying a little less council tax than you are in your tiny little 2-bedrooms house that's got 4 of you trying to live in it together. They're paying less council tax than you are. What? In America, people downsize when they retire at twice the rate that they downsize here in the UK. There are millions of homes in the United Kingdom, family homes that need freeing up. And I say this not just because I like being horrible to boomers, but this is almost existential, because we are seeing a huge decline in our fertility rate. And the reason is one fucking reason. It is money. That is it. Money. People can't give their kids the life that they would like to give their kids, so they don't have it. They don't have them. And I'm one of those people. I'd love to have kids of my own, but I can't, because I can't afford them. I know I can't afford them. I know I'll never be able to afford a house in this country. And I'm damned if I'm going to be spending my days working, making videos, editing, producing, whatever, and then giving half my time, half the money that I get for that time to some fucking landlord for nothing, for doing nothing, for coming and decorating once every 7 years. Well done. That's not a proper job. There's 7 of us in a 2-bed terrace, lol, says Amy Walker. Yeah. It's because the older generation are hogging all the big houses, all the family-size houses. There are so many. There's over 1 million of them that we know of that are being hogged by people who are retired, and they don't need that many bedrooms. But they've got them. They've got them. Chaos, about Kate Montgomery's live stream tonight, says Paula. Oh, she normally does her live streams on Wednesdays. So she's doing one tonight. That's cool. I am going. Thanks very much, Sarah. You'll be a great dad, Graham. Oh, thanks, Sarah. I think I will be. I think I'm an okay stepdad, but it is a bit frustrating that at the end of the day, I'm not their dad, and there's certain things where I don't really get a say. I would do things differently if they were mine. In fact, I probably wouldn't be in this fucking country if they were mine. I'd be out traveling the world, doing these YouTube shows from all over the planet. Today, I'm in Kuala Lumpur. Tomorrow, I'm in Ulaanbaatar. Now I'm in Port Moresby. Yo! God, it'd be really cool. The path I did not take. Anyway, so yeah, I'm fairly positive about this news today. In all, I don't see that to be a particular alternative at the moment, and I don't know. We're not really got into a big fight in the chat about this, so I'm hoping that we're all kind of on the same page, pretty much. That it's a necessary evil. I'd rather we didn't have to have this. Like I say, I'd rather there was more R&D ploughed into tidal power, but there isn't. So there you go. You're lucky to live in the house we had to live in the corridor. Yeah. Exactly. Well, I only live in this house because it's cats. This is not my house. This is my partner's house. She lets me stay here as long as I, make a loaf of bread and a roast meal now and again. Big Hon, thank you very much for the £10 super chat. Major Nimbyism going on in my area. The reason is more people vote for councillors who oppose developments. They get elected and they don't happen. Yeah, exactly. And this is one of the things that I really like Labour saying at the moment is that they are going to plough through the planning restrictions. So if you look at America, they've got high-speed rail that they've been trying to build for years, and the cost overruns are insane. From LA to San Francisco, it keeps getting cut down. It's very similar to what happened with HS2 in this country. And they use that as an excuse to say, oh, this is why high-speed rails will never work. But it was damned before it started because they were trying to build it in California, where they've had liberals in charge, Democrats in charge since forever, and they put things in place to make sure that everyone is cool. Everyone in the room has to be cool with that thing before you do the thing. And as anyone who's ever been to a meeting ever in their life, there'll always be someone who goes, I don't want to do this, for some reason. Whereas in Texas, I don't give a fuck. They're going to build something, they just fucking build it. You don't like it? Fuck you. And I'm like, okay, there's a happy medium to be found here. But what happens is people in red states see stuff being built. It might be useless shit. It might be a football stadium or something that they don't even fucking need, but they see it getting built. Meanwhile, in New York, in California, nothing's getting built. Nothing is getting built by the state. Things are getting built by private enterprise, by the state. Things that will make people's lives better and not just companies' profits better. Not being built. Not being built. Because of all these laws, all these rules that they put in place to make sure that everyone's cool with it. And that is a mistake that liberals make all over the world. And we need to stop fucking making it. Sorry, I know that you think it's a bit shit that there's going to be a fucking thing next to you. But move house, What about people who buy houses in, I mentioned this yesterday, people who buy houses in a fucking city centre and they complain about the noise. Try and get a club shut down, a place for live music venue, they can try and get it shut down after they got a flat in that place. And in fact, they got the flat at a lower rate than he would have got elsewhere because of the noise. And they move in and complain about the noise. Fuck off. Go live somewhere else. Go and live in the suburbs. People who buy a house next to a farm and then complain about the smell. Fuck off. I'm sick of it. So yeah, I'm all for, and you know this, I'm all for compulsory purchase of houses and flats that are not being used. Use it or lose it. Simple as that. You got a 3-year fucking time limit. You've got to spend at least a year and a half in these places in any given 3 years, or the government just fucking take it off you. And you know what? You'll be lucky to get any money back from it. We'll just say, yeah, we're going to buy it. Compulsory purchase. Well, we'll give you £5. And then what would happen is people will be desperate for people to live in their properties, and the cost of rents would crash because it would be a case of, well, I want to see where landlords pay their tenants for living in their fucking houses and taking care of their houses. That's the charge. Service charge. Tidal has already been perfected. The subsea interconnector is currently under construction in the Penrith Firth. Look up orbital O2. I don't know if it's been perfected, Gordon, but I'll look into it. I'll look into it, definitely. Martin says, I'm trying to convince my missus we're not selling our house, 5-bed with a massive garden in the suburbs. Have to leave it to the two boys to give them a leg up in 50 years or so. Fucking hell. That's looking forward to, why not, Martin? Downsize now and give the kids the money now. So they can start a business or start, what they want to do. Go on a journey. Go to the moon. Invest in something. I don't know. Why 50 years? We're going to wait till they're 70 before they get the money. No. I mean, each of their own. It's not what I would do. Trip says, I'm finding the trans community is producing so much awesome music and art. It's the art that will change things. Yeah. Also, the transgender community is just producing beautiful fucking humans who are just fucking awesome. And they're just absolutely killing it right now in the face of absolutely intolerable bigotry from the likes of J.K. Rowling and her disgusting, horrible, turfy mates. J.K. Rowling looked at herself in the mirror one morning and went, I don't look feminine enough. And all of this streams from that. Her tits weren't big enough. So there is an argument that if J.K. Rowling had bigger tits, none of this would have happened. Probably quite a sexist thing to say that, but she started it. Fuck her. Careful, Graham, you make me blush, says Californian Man. Anyway, so I'm going to jump over to the papers for a moment. Just for a moment, if it appears. First of all, we've got the Mirror here. Hello, little one. Star Oti relieves her baby trauma as she visits UNICEF clinic where hope is born. There you go, Oti Mabusi she's from Strictly Come Dancing, isn't she? And then we've got Labour U-turn joy for Opes. Winter Wonderful, 7.5 million to get winter fuel payments again after dramatic change of heart. Okay, my friends, I'm going to just say it. Not all boomers, right? That's what I'm going to say. First of all, that wasn't supposed to come on. It's too high. I know you're going to think, oh, you said that, they should have a U-turn on this. I'm like, no, they should have set it to maybe like what I was saying, 15,000, 20,000. This is £35,000 a year household income. £35,000, right? There are families not earning that. Families with little kids who need fuel and food and school uniforms and after-school clubs and breakfast. They're not getting the fuel payments. What the fuck are we Why is it 35,000? Who picked that number out the fucking air? Someone explain to me why it's 35,000. Because I don't think it should be. I think it should be like 20,000, if that. Reeves U-turn on winter fuel help for 9 million pensioners. Oh, and then we've got the picture of Californians to sue Trump for using National Guard as violence. So they've got this lovely picture of this car on fire here. It looks like a police car, doesn't it? Looks like there's people standing. So first of all, this was at the weekend. This wasn't yesterday. And also, these are autonomous vehicles. These are not police cars. They're autonomous vehicles. No one was harmed in this destruction. The Times, owned by Murdoch, with Caitlin Moran there. The real reason I donate blood. Okay, because it's a good thing to do. Reeves lays down the law in spending standoff with Cooper. Rachel Reeves has refused to meet Yvette Cooper's demand for extra police funding, despite warnings that the government could miss its flagship pledges on law and order as a result. I mean, okay. We'll see what happens tomorrow. Can we wait until we find out what happens? The Mexican flag has become a symbol of resistance. The clampdown on immigration in Los Angeles, this picture here, where the Marines and National Guard has been deployed. I've got to agree with Mikey last night. We were talking about this on Stateside. And we were talking about it's a bit unhelpful. Mikey and Brenner, we were talking about it, and we're just saying it's a bit unhelpful to be waving around Palestinian or Mexican flags. If anything, they should be waving American flags. Because then, imagine that picture, right? There, that picture. Sorry, there. Imagine that picture, but he's got a US flag. How much more powerful would that be? But instead, your MAGAs, your gammony fuckwits are going to see that and go, "Oh, you shouldn't be in my country anyway, you Mexican fucker." So yeah, put your Mexican flags away. That's all I'm saying. Optics, my friends, optics. Millions escape winter fuel cuts. Payments for all pensioners earning under 35 grand. So the lady is for turning, as we predicted. This Nadine Dorries, horrible woman. The Tory snoot in a mink-lined coat, his wife's poisonous witterings, and why their sort can't bear success stories like Sarah Vine and me. So, Sarah Vine, married to one of the private school mafia, got a job in the fucking Daily Heil by being horrible. Is that a success? Nadine Dorries, not a politician anymore. Everyone fucking hates her. Everyone in their own party hates her. Everyone in every other party hates her. Is that a success? I don't know. I'm sure I piss a lot of people off with these shows and stuff and the things I come out with, but, I don't know if I could abide that level of hatred. And I certainly wouldn't think my life had been a success if that many people thought I was thick as pig shit and good for nothing. About as much use as KFC on the moon. Winter fuel humiliation. After huge U-turn, Reeves refuses to apologise. Bizarrely claiming she'd been right to cut handout. Well, Starmer is ridiculed for suggesting moves now possible because Labour fixed our restrictions on the economy. Well, as excuses go, it's not too bad. There's Greta Thunberg there. She's been landed in Israel. She was on a boat going from Malta to trying to get into Gaza with humanitarian supplies, and they've been captured by the Israelis, and they're apparently going to get deported back to whence they came. I think this was a great bit of awareness raising on behalf of Greta. Or Greta, actually. I heard her say her own name yesterday, and she says Greta. So I'm going to call her Greta from now on, because it's not Greta. I just think it's an E. It's not. It's an I. It's a Greta. Greta Thunberg. She a great bit of consciousness awareness arising. No, that's not the right word. It's raising people's awareness of the situation, which is good. But I think they knew. I think that they knew it was always doomed to fail. I think they knew that at the end of the day, that fucking the lovely people in the IDF wouldn't have much time for these kind of antics. But I'm just very glad that there was no violence came of this. Because don't forget, there was a Turkish boat, wasn't there? Do you remember this? About 15 years ago, there was a Turkish boat trying to get to Gaza with aid on board, and the Israelis just fucking shot it. Do you remember this? Am I just making this up? I barely fucking remember. I should look it up. I'm going to look it up because I don't like saying things if I don't know that I'm right about it. Turkey aid ship Gaza destroyed. Okay. There we go. Yes, it was 15 years ago. It was almost exactly 15 years ago. 6 civilian ships of the Gaza Freedom Flotilla were raided by Israel on the 31st of March 2010 in international waters in the Mediterranean Sea. 9 of the flotilla passengers were killed during the raid, with 30 wounded. One who later died of his wounds. So I'm just glad that it didn't end in violence this time, but people need to know what the shit that Israel does, the shit that Israel gets away with. Fucking hell. Yeah. Anyway. Right, so I'm going to have a quick look here. Roger Devine is saying, "Been nice watching along. I'm off to make gammon cottage pie. Honestly, rename it Weatherspoons Pie." I love that, Roger. That's very good. I like it. 14 billion for nuclear to keep the lights on. Winter fuel window tax here to hit single pensioners. Keir Starmer's winter fuel about term will cause chaos for millions of pensioners as they work out how to return money to the treasury. All right, whatever. Boost defense spending or start learning Russian, says NATO chief. Can't really argue with that. Fans fury as BBC puts Raducanu out to grass. The BBC failed to show Emma Raducanu and Jamie and Katie Boulter's doubles match at Queen's yesterday. Whatever. Martha's ruled doctor guilty of misconduct. This is to do with Martha Mills, daughter of Meripy Mills, who died really tragically of sepsis after falling off her fucking bike. She fell off her bike, and because of misconduct by the doctor, by the specialist on the ward at the time, and the fact it was a bank holiday and they weren't allowed to get a second opinion because there was nothing in law in the UK about in England about being able to get a second opinion, and Martha died. But the doctor who was at the heart of that has been found guilty of misconduct. Whether he's going to be stricken off the medical register, I don't know. Do you want to know something really fucking scary? Do you remember Harold Shipman, Dr. Harold Shipman, right? The Mr. Hyde. He was the butcher of Hyde. He murdered hundreds of old ladies in Hyde. He was still signing patients' repeat prescriptions in jail after he had been found guilty. That's how hard it is to get struck off the medical register. But this particular doctor, his actions resulted in the deaths in the death of little Martha. I mean, it doesn't bear thinking about. It's every parent's nightmare, and I think that there is, with some doctors, obviously not all doctors by a mile, but there are some doctors who have this air of arrogance, know-it-all about them. And I'm not saying that just being an arrogant gobshite is a reason not to let someone be a doctor, but the facility needs to be there for, for us, especially parents who have got their kids in hospital, to get a second opinion in cases like this where you feel like this isn't right. Yeah, fucking hell. She was 13. She was 13, and she fell off a bike. She just fell off her fucking bike. Go back to the iPaper here. Sunday service, that's not right. Winter fuel U-turn gets warm welcome, but Labour MPs warn Reeves don't make the same mistakes on disability benefits. Yeah. Trump heading for a Liz Truss moment in US market meltdown, which is probably why he's sending troops out on the streets to distract. He's having his parade this weekend. I think it's this weekend. He's having his birthday military parade in Washington. Jesus. The secret to our happy marriage, we don't live together. Oh my God, that's so depressing. I couldn't imagine that. I just literally, maybe he's a heavy snorer. Victory for pensioners. Save the winter fuel payments. She's not a pensioner. Why is this woman here? After 298 days of relentless campaigning by your Express, it's not my Express, fuck off, don't like you. Humiliating. See what they've done there on the front of the Metro. And then the Law's prayer. People hunt the meaning of life in folklore, which is good. One angry pagan, take note. And then we've got Rachel Reeves here. Retreat restores winter fuel payments. And a terrifyingly uncanny valley version of Nebula from the MCU. Rivalized London Tech Week starts as British bidders swoop on 3 more British targets. An AI-powered robot is showcased today. Oh God, it's so terrifying. Look at the dead eyes. Oh God, there's something about it. It makes me feel all queasy. And then the WPP chief quits as ad agency battles AI-led upheaval and ailing share price. Yeah. Well, there you go. There you go, my friends. There you go. That's all the news that's unfit to print. Hi, Graham. Please give a shout out to Katie's Montgomery's live stream tonight, completing the EHRC consultation. Yeah, do you know what? I'll do you one better. Let's go to YouTube. Hopefully Katie will be up here. Ready to go. Okay. Katie. Respond. Schedule for 8 o'clock tonight. Here we go. So this is the link for tonight's live stream from Katie Montgomery. It's going to start at 8 o'clock tonight, I think. I love the way it says that it's scheduled for the 10th of June, but doesn't actually give the freaking time. Oh, there you go. Live in 9 hours. It's actually written on the thing. Okay. So there you go. That's the link to Katie, who's been on this channel, by the way. She was interviewed by our friend Rachel last year, or maybe the year before now. I can't remember. I think it was last year she was on the channel. No, I interviewed her. No, that was one that I did. Oh, yeah, I did, didn't I? Yeah, cool. Anyway, she's lovely. We love her. Chaos, I wish you had your fate, but can't help but feel that people with the money and power are too deeply ingrained for things like truth to matter now. Gallifreyan, I disagree. Phil talks about it being like an elastic band or something. It stretches out and then it twangs back. And the reason it stretches out is because the more that people push towards the right, towards oligarchy, towards kleptocracy, towards bigotry and racism and foulness, there's always a reaction against that. Where people actually go, no, I'm not willing to stand for this. This is ridiculous. I'm not putting up with this shit anymore. And I'm going to make a stand on behalf of my trans brothers and sisters, on behalf of my friends from different cultural backgrounds, friends from different countries, friends with different racial heritage. Yeah, fucking people get to a point where they're like, I'm not putting up with this anymore. And all that these absolute fucking horrible twats like J.K. Rowling do is they make people rise up against them and say, no, we're not going to stand for this. And as I keep saying, there's been trans people for thousands of years. Since humans have existed as humans, there have been trans people. And in every culture, in every country in the world that has ever existed, there have been trans people. And there always will be trans people. 1,000 years' time, there will be trans people. There won't be any J.K. Rowling, I can tell you that now. I've been looking into microneedling to get my hair back. First step, says Vendetta. Ooh. Is Geoscope on tonight? Yes, David. Geoscope will be on tonight at 7:30, I hope, with my friend Ollie Bowler Hartman from Yorkshire. We'll be getting into what the shit is going on around the world. Maybe we should just change the name to What the Shit. What is even happening right now? Online dictionary says expressing vehement public protests and publics on the subject have been dominated by fulminating politicians, says Anne. Tides change eventually, says L. All that is now is the battleground, is more in public view. Discretion isn't an option unless blatant hiding things, then expose that. Yeah, I absolutely agree. I see positive change as inevitable. However, there are forces of darkness that want to drag us back to the past. And they can fuck off. And I don't care whether they feel like they align themselves on the right or the left or wherever they are. I don't want to go back to the 70s. I don't want to go back to the 50s. I don't want to go back to the Second World fucking War. I don't want to go back to Victorian fucking England like what Rees-Mogg wants. I don't want that. Life was shitter then than it is now. Full stop. I know things are difficult and I know things could be so much better. And God, we are so much more aware of how things could be better right now. But what we need is laws, sensible laws that tackle inequality, that tackle bigotry, that tackle monopoly. Stop these motherfuckers owning everything. We need laws to bring things back under state control. Water, for a fucking start. This is ridiculous that we're propping up the failings, the decades and decades of 30 years, over 30 years of failings by these water companies that haven't built a single fucking reservoir in a time when the population of the UK has grown by 15 million. And yet they haven't built a single reservoir. In fact, they've decommissioned 5 of them. And every single watercourse in the entire country now has shit in it. Now has human fucking shit in it. Every beach in this country has got shit on the fucking sand. And they're milking it for every fucking penny. So yeah. And if anything that the U-turn has showed us, right, on winter fuel allowance, is that Labour are beholden to their backbench MPs. If enough backbench MPs say, fuck off, we're not going to vote for this, the magic number is about 100, they won't do it. And so we need now, winter fuel payment, that's one thing. What Labour plan to do with PIP, trying to take £5 billion away from the poorest people in society, not necessarily the poorest, let's say the neediest people in society. They're not necessarily poor, but they might need extra facilitation. They might need reasonable adjustments in order to just live a happy life. Because this gets down to the nub of it all, right? These motherfuckers in charge of these big companies, the people in these parties like Nigel Farage and Donald Trump and Boris Johnson, they don't want you to thrive. They don't want you to live. They just want you to survive long enough to help feather their fucking nests, to help subsidize their special interest groups, who in turn subsidize these politicians quite royally. Jesus Christ, they get a lot of money. Just have a look at how much fucking Nigel Farage has earned so far this year. MP's earnings 2025. Just absolutely abhorrent amount of money. I'm seeing if I can get someone actually made like a bubble, bubble charts where it's got a bubble for each figure, and the Nigel Farage bubble for how much money he's made while being an MP was like huge. It took up about a quarter of the actual diagram. That's how much money he has made. He's made now nearly a million since becoming an MP through fucking grifts. They don't want you to live. They don't want you to be happy. They don't want you to thrive. They just want you to survive long enough to feather their nests, to pay for their second house, to pay for their second yacht. Chip into it for a billionaire. And we do it every day. Every day when we pay our taxes. I have no problem with paying taxes at all. I think we should pay more. We all should pay more. End of. Right? No problem with it whatsoever, because I believe in the social contract. I believe that money should be spent on helping us and protecting us from all various things, right? I don't think any of that money should be spent subsidizing the fucking fossil fuel companies. No, that's something that should never happen. We subsidize fossil fuel in the North Sea. We subsidize private companies to drill oil in the North Sea. What do we get out of it? Nothing. Nothing, my friend. Nothing. They take that oil and they sell it on the international market at international market rates. If we want that oil, we don't get a discount. We get fuck all. We get nothing. Do you know what we get? We get jobs. So we get the time for those people to go out there and spend their life on an oil rig, risking their lives to get that oil out the ground. And then we tax them. We take the money. We take a third of their income and we give that back to the oil companies so they can build more shit and make more money for their shareholders, their investors, and their CEOs. That's the system that needs pulling apart. And I believe that there is a way of ensuring that we have the fairest possible system without going mad one way or the other, where companies are brought to heel. They are forced to abide by environmental regulations like the rest of us. If I went and took a shit in the fucking fountain, in the fish fountain in the middle, outside St. George's Hall in Liverpool, I'm sure I'll be arrested by the police for taking a shit in some, in a fountain. Why would you do that? Well, that's what the water companies do every day. And it's not just one shit, mate. It's millions, especially when it hasn't rained for a couple of months and then it rains like fucking cats and dogs for a few weeks. Anyway, what taxes are going to increase in October to pay for all this, says Gillian. Well, I hope taxes on the fucking rich. Go back to the days when, as the Beatles sang, it's 1 for you and 19 for me, said the tax man. Yeah, good. I'm glad about that, John. I'm glad about that, Paul. Stop fucking whinging. You're the richest musicians in the world. Anyway, Gallifreyan says, ooh, best get a wiggle on. Got some spring cleaning and then slow roasted pork chops to prepare. Oh, that sounds so good. Before getting back to novel research. Take care, peeps and peepettes. Keep being kind. So yes, I'm going to take Gallifreyan's cue there. I'm going to get going and do a bit of writing today. I'm working on the Amazon TV show that I'm writing the script for the first episode of. So I'll need to crack on with that. Need to have it finished. If you've got any projects that you have been putting off, or you haven't got started yet, or you're stuck on, just write stuff. If you're writing or whatever you're doing, just get started on it. Just get started on it today. Just after this, go on, just get started on it. You might make a fucking pig's ear of it. It doesn't matter. Just get started. Just fix it afterwards. Just start. That's the hardest bit. And I'm saying this to myself as much as to you. Just fucking stop looking at social media. Fucking just do a bit. Just do a bit. Right. I'm off to have some breakfast. Fucking starving. My back's feeling a bit better, by the way. That ibuprofen seems to have worked. But I know that I'm going to stand up from this chair when I finish the show and I'm going to be like, oh, fuck. So, yeah. Well, I'm sitting up straight and hopefully it won't be too bad. Paul McCartney wants to write a rock opera about the Marvel superhero, the Silver Surfer. Oh, that's quite cool. Also, the Beatles wants to make Lord of the Rings. I think, was it Ringo was going to play Bilbo or something mad? And John Lennon was going to play Gandalf. What could have been? What could have been? Although AI, it might be. Who knows? Right, we're not getting into that debate again. So, listen, thank you so much for watching. I'll be back at 7:30 tonight with Geoscope, for Geoscope with Ollie. And until then, I'll say thank you so much for watching. Give us a like on the way out, just to remind you. And thank you for all of the lovely chat. Thanks for being very respectful and lovely to each other. Really appreciate it. And I really, really appreciate the super chats. You keep this channel alive and you keep me fed. So thank you very much for that. I do seriously appreciate it. Okay, that's it. Until next time, I'll say hello, good evening, welcome, and goodbye.